Costa Rica is a relatively small country located in Central America between modern-day Panama and Nicaragua. The United States and Costa Rica have had a history of friendly relations based on mutual respects for democratic government, human freedoms, and other values. This became very prevalent following the surge of communism in the nation during the mid-20th century following World War II. The impending threat of communism had drastically increased during the 40s with the rise of socialist leader Rafael Calderón. Calderón was elected as a classic liberal but quickly fled his perceived political views, taking on many communistic ideas. Naturally, this had scared the U.S. into losing yet another ally to the communism that had been plaguing the world at the onset of the Cold War. A politically unknown man by the name of Jose Figueres was propelled into the national spotlight when he publicly criticized Calderón and his policies on live radio. Mid-broadcast, Figueres was arrested and sent to jail in Mexico. A few years later, Figueres would return to Costa Rica for political redemption. Figueres, or otherwise known as Don Pepe, would become the political voice for democracy in Costa Rica. The Costa Rican election for president in 1948 would become the most infamous in the history of the country, setting precedent for a civil war. The election pitted two political juggernauts against one another. Rafael Calderón, infamous for his communistic beliefs, against Otilio Blanco, a conservative backed by Figueres. Of the total 100,000 votes, Blanco won by a majority of 10,000. The standing government, which supported Calderón, refused to step down since the vote was not unanimous. The old legislature, which was controlled by Calderón, elected to give the decision to themselves, who would ultimately select Calderón as the president. As a result, the country was set into a tailspin and violence would erupt. Figueres united an army of 600 men to fight against the communist militia of 3,000. The nation's bloodiest war had erupted. Figueres received support in the form of guns and other supplies from the United States. The U.S. had largely supported Figueres and his anti-communistic beliefs politically in the past, trying to sway the election in Blanco's favor. Nearly 2,000 men had been killed within a matter of 44 days. Both sides, specifically the communist militia, were unwilling to compromise. As a result, the U.S. activated a specific command in Panama, threatening to intervene if the communists refused to step down. Sure enough, Calderón and his communist militia had surrendered thanks to the assistance of the heavy hand that is the United States. Following the war, the country would be led by Jose Figueres through a temporary junta. Figueres would implement a number of democratic political reform. Women were given the right to vote, a national bank was put into place, even a social security system, along with a number of other things. The American influence had become very heavy over Costa Rica. Costa Rica would also abolish its army, prohibiting it strictly to times of invasion. Since 1948, Costa Rica has not had an army and has been a productive member of our world.